Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Welcome on, Chris Taylor.
Scott, freeze up here. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to DodgerHeads. It seems Scott is having some technical difficulties, so get this started here. Let's see. All right. Sorry, everyone. Hold up. Scott had a power surge, so just me for now, I guess. Wasn't totally prepared for this, but we're here. DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. Remember to like, subscribe, get everything going here. So, if you weren't aware, the Dodgers and MLB announced their 2025 schedule today, and they're opening the season in Tokyo, Japan. It'll be the fourth time the Dodgers are opening an international series, and it's the first time since 2000 that MLB has, or 2019 that MLB has played in Japan. They've also played in 2000, 2004, 2008, and 2012. And here we get Scott back, so it's less awkward.
Whew. So sorry, guys. I apologize. I had a little power surge in the house. Everything froze up, but we're back. We're back. We're going to get it going again. How we doing, guys? Oh, I know, odd one. I know. I see everybody. Blake in charge. Thanks for, sitting tight for a minute while I got that set back up. Hopefully it doesn't happen here again. But I'm Scott Geirman. DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. How we doing?
Doing better until I lost you and totally threw me out of the loop.
My
here.
Stuff's going really not well now.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on. Tough times.
I was not prepared for
going
that.
crazy. Let me see if I can get this.
Well, if anyone
Deer
has
in the
some
headlights.
questions-
So sorry. Oh my gosh. Yeah, can't eat the hamsters, man. Everybody's going nuts. Yeah, the hamsters going wild. Daughter's streaming 10 Disney movies at one time. Hopefully it doesn't go on again. But thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for showing up on a Thursday. Every single app I have is currently updating right in front of my face. I'll do my best to avoid all those. But it's great to have you in here. This is going to be a quick show tonight. We're going to do a couple things. I don't know if Blake went through the rundown, but we've got some interesting news. Tokoy Series. We're going to do a quick Q&A at the end there. But again, we'll get back on track. My name is Scott Geirman, here with Blake Williams. How we doing aside from your little deer in the headlights scare?
Okay. Aside from that, pretty good. Definitely caught me off guard. Was not prepared for that. And not the best at improvising. Had to pull up all my notes real quick, but here we are. Let's get back to normal.
Perfect. All right, Blake, I'm going to let you tee up the Tokoy Series because you're the guy. You were here for the Soul Series. You were there at the Soul Series. You had an incredible experience. You got to document that, detail that, eat some weird food. Excited for this next one.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for MLB to actually do this again. I think we kind of all knew that the Dodgers were going to be starting in Japan. It was just a matter of them actually announcing it. But six-time MLB has opened the season in Tokyo, and it'll mark the 25th anniversary of their first game in Tokyo when the Mets and Yankees played. So that's pretty cool there, how it all worked out. And of course, Dodgers and Cubs, both teams have some Japanese stars, so create a lot of excitement for that. The Dodgers have been in some international series before. They've been in Australia, they've been in Mexico, they've been in Seoul, and now Tokyo. So should be a lot of fun. For the Cubs, it's going to be their second international series. They previously played in London against the Cardinals. So great for both teams. Going to be good for Seiya Suzuki, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shota Imanaga, and probably future Dodger Roki Sasaki there too.
Yeah, big time. So, Imanaga, he played for the Yokohama Bay Stars. Ohtani, Nippon Ham Fighters, and Seiya Suzuki, I don't know why this stuff's going on. And Seiya Suzuki for the Hiroshima Carp. So Seiya Suzuki is kind of someone who's kind of, I'm not going to even say back burner, but to a lot of Dodger fans that, maybe necessarily don't know, MLB like fans don't necessarily know about him, but just another very decorated player who had an incredible NPB career before he joined Major League Baseball. So again, another highly anticipated, it will be a highly attended matchup, and hopefully Blake has the opportunity to go again. Hopefully we'll be there. Hopefully we get to tandem that, and that'll be a fun time. But I think these, I know I see a lot of people in chat talking about Max Muncy's appearance on Foul Territory today, and they asked him about it. We'll get to that, like what he said about it in a minute. But I think this stuff is good for baseball. I'm a fan, so I don't have to deal with the travel. I enjoy the brand, like the Major League Baseball going abroad and heading outside of just the United States and Canada. But I think that putting Major League Baseball on a global scale is just can be nothing but good for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. It is the World Series after all, so you got to have that global presence there. But baseball is one of the few like American sports that is played around the world. Like you don't see football being played in other countries too much, so it has a lot of international stars, and that's part of what makes baseball so great. Like you see Shohei Ohtani is the best player. You see players coming from the Dominican Republic and winning all the home run derbies. I think Dominican players have won 6 in a row now. You see just players from everywhere, Korea, and it's so great for the game because it brings in more fans, and we need baseball to keep growing. We need to bring in new fans, and it only helps. It's fun when you see the different cultures of how they play baseball. I think one of the best things in Seoul when I was out there was seeing like the cheerleaders and how much the fans got into the games actually, because it created a different environment that we don't normally see at Major League Baseball. And we sometimes get that in the World Baseball Classic. I think that's part of my favorite part of that too. Like just the environment of being at those games. The fans really get into it, and it's just an electric experience. So I think we kind of get some of that when we go to the other countries too to play games, and it can help make baseball here better when we get those experiences, because some things might start to translate over.
Absolutely. I was going to say that watching MPB games, occasionally you can see just the emotion, you can see the fanfare, you can see how just fans for a regular season game get so into it, and how the excitement is off the charts. So that's something I do find interesting. There will be a lot of, get off my lawn type of reactions to a lot of what goes on there. But I think just if you're going to ask for like a non-exhibition matchup, because these games do count, I hope they aren't during the week. I hope they're on a weekend so I can actually be okay, staying up and watching them the next day. But I think that they can do nothing but, create more excitement, can show fans that baseball can be fun, should be fun. Fans should get into it. But we'll see. Baseball's got its traditions in with how it is in Major League Baseball here. But just like you said, I hope that a lot of the stuff and a lot of the excitement that fans have in MPB playing in Korea, I hope that starts to bleed onto a lot of people. And maybe some teams kind of spearhead that and kind of push that charge, because I think it'll have to come from there. And the more players come over from MPB, the infusion will happen. There's a lot of exciting players coming up that will be brought over to Major League Baseball. I think it's going to do nothing but, be a plus.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick to answer this question for Hawaiian Kiera, when will there be a Dominican series? There was one earlier this year, March 8th and 9th, between the Rays and Red Sox. So it was a spring training game, but they did go down there and play. So maybe we'll see some more of those, possibly regular season games in the future. But it seems like MLB has kind of expanded to as many places as they can with the World Tour.
Yeah, and the Dodgers, I'll just go right into it. So when the Dodgers return from that series, it'll be similar to what happened this last year. And a lot of the players will probably say that it's a quick turnaround, having to get reacclimated to the time zones, time change. They'll have their domestic home opener, from what I'm seeing, on the 27th of March against the Detroit Tigers. So very early on in the year, you get to see the Detroit Tigers. Hopefully it's a nice soft landing. And then they start April against the Atlanta Braves. So you go straight from playing in Tokyo back home. Hopefully you get a nice softball series against the Tigers. And then you play the Atlanta Braves to close out the first homestand. So that's something that's going to be exciting. It's going to be a very fast few weeks for the Dodgers. That wait between the Tokyo series and the first homestand domestic opening day for the Dodgers is going to be very exciting. It's something I'm going to be looking forward to, and I'll probably hit up 1 or 2 of the games from the Braves series just because that's something early on in the year. I want to see how it goes. Maybe you'll be there with me, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I tend to be at a lot of the games, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. So tonight, Blake and I don't really have much news. I really would like to talk about the Max Muncy appearance today on Foul Territory and what he said. And I see a lot of people saying it was grim, and it was, but it kind of coincides with a lot of what we've been reading. He said that he's been on a lot of the grind that he's, the normal grind that he's been on during the year when he's not hurt. From a preparation standpoint, from a defense standpoint, he said the timeline for him is to be determined, which is not good news. Not putting any definitive range on any return. When he was asked about the Dodgers' hesitancy to green light players who are nursing any injury, which we've seen, absolutely, they'll just hold players off and push them back. It's not because they're just, being very hesitant with him. But it's because Max Muncy said his body is not responding. Like, it's not cooperating to the treatment. And it just hasn't. There's been that roadblock that he hasn't been able to push past. And it's been concerning. A lot of the hosts, Scotty Braun, Brzezinski, were talking about how this is an injury that can vary. And Blake, you even said this. It put me on the thought process that Muncy might not be back for the regular season. If he does, it's going to be way down the line. But the more we hear about how concerning it is that he's doing everything but swinging a bat. He's doing a lot of rotational work, a lot of stuff with medicine balls. He mentioned that's something he's on the field. He said he's at the stadium, home or road, but he's staying in LA for about 5 hours. So that's a lot of work. And the fact that he just cannot push through that's a big red flag.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a concern as soon as Muncy went on the IL. They said they were hoping it was going to be the minimum 10 days and then they bring him back. But anytime you have an oblique injury as a hitter, it's going to create some problems there. And they're really tricky to come back from because they shut you down from doing like the main things you do as a hitter, which is swinging. So it's tough. Like, you just never know how they're going to heal. And with Tommy John surgeries and things like that, we kind of have a more like set outlook of, we know it's going to be like a year, and then you kind of start throwing and build up, and then maybe it's like a year and a half until you come back, or a little shorter than that. But with obliques, it can kind of range anywhere from weeks to months, and you just really don't know how it's ever going to respond. So it's tough for them to deal with. It's confusing, and I think the Dodgers are confused by it too, which is he's not able to swing, but he can do everything else. Usually they kind of like coincide. He wouldn't be able to do medicine ball stuff or throwing. So it's just a really weird injury, and maybe there's something else going on there that they haven't found. I'm not sure. It's not a great outlook for him right now. Maybe they have to go make a trade for a third baseman or something. The hope is you can get him back in time for October at this point.
For sure. So to avoid like having to make another move, Matty Man right there. Where are you? Let me put you up here. Where are you? You just had it. There we go. Yeah. It's to the point where you look at the list and it's a tough thing to climb because you're like just another spot they have to fill. It is concerning. Muncy did note that they've done imaging. They've done work. They're going all ranges. He said the amount of stuff they're going with, of course, they're working with stim. They're working with a lot of, electro stuff to really trying to stimulate muscles, break through this. So the concern in him, and I agree, guys, the Foul Territory guys, they did a fantastic job, really getting some answers out of him. They got him talking about really his process and how much they've been working through this, which adds to that level of concern. It puts it for me with how the Dodgers have to operate. We might just see a platoon. So far, since Muncy's went down, or on the year, there's been Kike Hernandez has played 32 games at third. Kevin Biggio has played 12 games. Chris Taylor, 10 games at third. Miguel Rojas has played 7 games at third base. So it's been a Kike Hernandez heavy platoon so far. And by all accounts, if that's how it's going, Chris Taylor, sure, you could plop him at third base. He's been a plus bat. He's been fine. I think since I looked, when he's been playing at third base, he's been like a 96 WRC plus, which is cool. That kind of falls right in line with where his upswing, where he's been plus on the year in recent weeks, right, Blake? So that points to me that if they intend to make a shift somewhere else, or they're going to stick with Kike, who's been playing the large majority of reps at third base, does that kind of unfortunately, or depending how you look at it, kind of make you think that Kike will be with the team past the deadline?
I mean, it depends on how the trade deadline falls. I think they definitely need to upgrade on their bench. However they do it, they need to do something there and kind of figure out the bottom of their lineup. You can probably name 4 or 5 guys on this team that they could use an upgrade from for real. Just like Kike, Jason Hayward,
third
Kevin
base.
Biggio.
Stick with third.
Mean, it's all connected though, because they have all the versatility. Like if they acquire someone, they could play Miguel Rojas at third. They could play Chris Taylor at third. They have options there. They have Miguel Vargas working at third now. Yeah. So if you get a left fielder, like you could just move him in. Like I'm just saying they need to add some bats because they have the versatility to make it work however they do it.
Yeah.
And it's tough because they also need pitching. So it's putting them in a spot where they're going to have to be very active at the trade deadline. And depending on how that falls, will probably determine the futures of Kike, Lux, Biggio, etc.
Yeah. So, right. Yeah, exactly. So right before we get into this, Matty Man, thank you. I appreciate the super chat. I'm gonna toss it up here in just a second. So this is where we're gonna open up our Q&A. We're gonna just roll into this. If there's anything you want to air out, if there's anything you want to toss in as a super chat, give us the conversation. Give us something big time that you think is a pressing thing aside from what. Don't tell me just talk about the bench. We do that all the time. We're not doing it tonight. I want to if it's something specific, then we're gonna roll with it. But if you toss in a super chat of $50, I'll talk about the bench for as long as you'd like me to. But the third base position, like since he's gone down, they've had one of the bottom 3 units in the National League. They've had a combined negative F WAR. It's a unit it's a position that's been tough to fill. I agree. Yeah, Matty Man, it's boring. And it's not easy for them to find someone or just say Chris Taylor is going to be there, because as we've noted and as we've seen him, make his money and, play his best stuff is when he's moving around the diamond. So I think that's the way that they're going to keep it. I think that's the way they should do it. But again, it's like, who are they going to get there to play that position and play it like have a plus addition there? Is that guy on the roster currently? I don't think so. It's not there. Kevin Biggio is not it. Miguel Rojas, we plan on being the everyday shortstop. I hope so. Kevin Biggio, I don't think it's a long-term guy. So it's going to be somebody outside the organization. I don't think it's Andre Lipsius. We've seen how the difficult thing about him is you have to find, I believe, like a spot for him on the roster. Correct, Blake?
Yeah.
So you have to find a spot for him on the roster. And then you're going to have to hope that he works out. And if you call him up and he doesn't work out, and you're going to have to immediately option him, or I just don't want to see that happen. I'd rather go get a clear cut, somebody who is a productive big leaguer at this time, somebody who you don't have to say, let's just hope. That type of move for me to call up Lipsius would have happened already, because there's no way they're keeping Kevin Biggio at third base or on the bench, because you're saying, yeah, we're going to see what he's got till the deadline. Then we're going to go dive into the minor leagues to see if we can remedy it from that way.
Yeah. So to answer the question of who's available at third, there's a few names that come to mind for me. 2 of them with the Tampa Bay Rays, Isaac Paredes and Yandy Diaz. I think both of them are really good players. Defense might not be great there, but Yandy can handle it somewhat, and Paredes has been playing there on a more consistent basis. I love Isaac Paredes as a player. Great bat. I think he'd be a huge upgrade. Absolutely. I believe he still has 2.5 years of control after this year, so he'd be pretty expensive. So not sure the Dodgers totally go that route with Max Muncy under contract still. I don't think they're going to be willing to move Muncy back to second base or any other positions. You can't put him at DH or first base or anything for reasons that are obvious. You could go for like a Jake Berger from the Miami Marlins. I think he'd be available. Not a great player, but can fill in there enough to be competent. Justin Turner could be an option. He doesn't play a whole lot of third anymore, but if your hope is that Max Muncy returns and you're mainly just having Turner kind of fill in for the meantime, I think that's viable probably. And one more, Gio Urshela from the Detroit Tigers, somewhat of an option there. And I'll throw out Luis Rengifo also. Just that's my guy there. The versatility there. I think he's a perfect fit.
Can anybody tuning in again appreciate the 500 in here? We notice it, or kind of an early stream for what Blake and I usually do. We usually toss these at you at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and go and roll from there. Somebody tell Blake the percentage of Artie Moreno making another deal with the Dodgers or another Knicks deal, especially after Ohtani leaves, Anaheim comes to LA, and then years ago hammers down the trade of Jock, and it was Jock, Stripling, and Pajes. Yeah. So like I see zero. He ain't gonna do it. It's not gonna happen.
I'd say like 5% or less. I wouldn't say totally no. Like if the Dodgers came in and said like here's Bobby Miller and Dalton Rushing,
right.
Like they're not gonna say
real.
No. So I know that's being unrealistic, but my point is there is a point where the Angels will say, okay, let's do this because we have to.
Can I ask you this one? I think this is something that a lot of people are overlooking. Is the Dodgers position is so unique and it plays to their versatility of the guys that they already have. Like we'll just say, like again, I'm going to piggyback off what I just said about Chris Taylor. His best thing is versatility and not being just put at one position for a long-term spot. And you're able to put him at second base. I think somebody last night noted that they thought Chris Taylor, I don't know if it was Matt, somebody said Chris Taylor is going to be, it might've been you, said Chris Taylor is going to be the second baseman going forward.
That was Anthony.
So Anthony said if that's the case, the spot they go, they just have to find, I would think, one of those everyday positions that they can lock in for a majority of the time. Because they're in a spot where it's like, I see people saying, I think Kenny was just like, yeah, there's too many leaks in the boat, too many holes in the boat. You got to just start with one and then go from there. You cannot get another iffy player. You have to get someone who's going to, or two players who can man a position every single day. And if you attack platoon splits, then they need to be attacked correctly. Somebody who's got, projectable upside there. Yeah, Matty, man, I agree. The more I look at it, the more I would say Chris Taylor playing second base doesn't sound so bad. But you have to plug the holes for an extended period of time. I don't want them to say, perhaps we can get the best out of this guy. I want them to attack talent, saying with something that like a tracker that they've already done. The back of the baseball card looks good. They're on track this season. And if they don't perform in Los Angeles, then it's in a statistical anomaly. And then we're like, why did this happen? If it doesn't pan out. I know that's asking a lot, but we're just asking, Blake, like we've been harping on, let's just get a little bit closer to league average and the rest of the offense. Because if you look at season stuff, if you look at the first half, the Dodgers were 1-2. They were, I think, against lefties and righties, they were second in Major League Baseball. But the drop-off after Mookie Betts went down against lefties fell off a cliff. I think they were bottom 10 in Major League Baseball. So it's a spot where I just need them to bring that up a little bit. Yeah, BC, no more dumpster diving. Just give me some options that you can bring us a little bit closer. If you give me some 80 WRC plus guys, I'm cool. I know that's not asking for much at all. That's dumpster diving. But for what they've been getting on the season, it feels like they've been dumpster diving from the get-go. So just give me closer. And if they go at third base, then that's cool with me. Because then when Muncy comes back, options are open. But that's why I think they're going to go for another guy. They're going to go for another guy that's a little bit more versatile. And then go from there. But just for the off chance that Muncy does come back and they don't have just a slot like a plopped third baseman, which is why Yandy Diaz is kind of unrealistic. He hasn't played one inning of third base this year. So I think they go for another player, which plays into Luis Rengifo, who has the ability to play multiple positions. So I just need them to fill one spot, and then you can start to go a little bit more on the trend of who are the versatile guys who you can slot somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers have a lot of options they can work with here. The good thing, well, I don't know if it's a good thing, but the lucky thing for them, I don't even know if it's lucky, they have a lot of holes, so you can fill kind of any of them, and it'll improve the team a lot. You can fill in a center fielder, you can fill in a third baseman, you could fill in a second baseman, you could fill in a shortstop. So it does make sense that they could go for someone with versatility that could fill in at any of those. And then when guys start to come back and healthy, you can move your new guy around. I will say for your weighted runs created plus target or 80, like I'm just not a huge on that. I think we got to target like 100 or higher there.
You know my point. Yeah. Don't do this. Don't me.
I mean, like, I'm gonna
my daughter
do
does that. I'll say, Nora, it's 330, and she'll be like, it's 326. Like, don't do that to me. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna do it a little here. We need 100 or higher,
guys. Yeah, don't. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I'm still gonna give you a hard time for it just
because my computer bricked 5 minutes before.
Yeah, you put me on the spot there, threw me out of whack there, but. I think if they added someone who could be like an everyday starter plus a quality bench bat, they would be in a really good spot with their offense overall, especially once guys start to come back.
Isn't that crazy though? Isn't just not asking them, because the current options have been so poor. If you just improve one, it drastically improves them, which is crazy to think about. So anyone saying there needs to be a mass overhaul, it's just the drop-off has been so bad, and the pieces that have been plug and played have been so poor that it doesn't matter. You don't need to get two guys. If you just get one to play that everyday spot that doesn't have ridiculous splits, it's going to do wonders. So this sounds crazy, but this is like the optimistic time for Blake and I, because we know we've been preaching for a bit now that you can look at all the options they've been using. Chris Taylor is the only one who's really trended up. And that's a back of the baseball card guy. So if he's the one that's doing that, just fill one other spot. I'm not saying that I hope that's all they do. I hope they do more. And if they feel it, then they will. But it's just a matter of getting one guy that can play every day. And that lessens the need for having to worry about so many platoons, or what are you going to do with the rest of these guys who are not like producing at all. So I'm operating under the sense that that's what Friedman is going to be doing. Yeah, Noisy Ninja, Vargas at third base. He hasn't done that for a bit. And I would hope, I'm going to push back on you, Blake, a little bit, because you were kind of ragging on Miggy V for them kind of going after him and saying, all right, we're prepping you at third base prior to some of these games. And what they were saying to him, you learn in Little League ball and early on. But this is a guy who's played a ton of innings at third base in the minors. Like maybe they're just giving him a refresher course.
I mean, I'm just reporting the facts here. As a journalist that was covering it, you can draw your own conclusions about that. But
I heard what you said.
I mean, he hasn't played there recently, and maybe it was a refresher, but the point stands, it didn't look good, and he needs a lot of work there for them to feel comfortable with him at that position. I don't know if they're ever going to fully feel comfortable with him at third base, but
I agree, though, by the way.
Probably got into the point where, like, you kind of need to try it out and see what you can get there, because if he has a game where he makes 3 errors in the regular season, it's not going to affect their outcome of the season, and then they'll just move him off the position. It doesn't really hurt to try. But,
for sure.
Yeah, I'm just being independent, not being biased or anything, saying what I saw with Miggy V at third.
I'm with you. That's okay. I'm not going to say I'm with you, because I heard what you said. Tone works wonders if you listen. But I don't agree. Yeah, GI, his bat is cooled substantially. So Miggy V, I mean, that run he had was cool, and that made me feel good for a bit. I just think they just fill one spot. If it's second base, if it's third base, I think they have enough. Do you think they have enough options currently in the outfield, like left field? Do you think they have enough corner spots with Teoscar Manning one, left field? Do you think they're okay with what they've got, or do you think an outfielder is it?
I think a center fielder is important for them to acquire.
Perfect.
I think they can live with the corner outfielders, because that would push Pajes to the corner. And then you have Jason Hayward as your fourth outfielder. But a left-handed hitting center fielder preferably would be great. If it ends up being a right-handed center fielder, that's fine too. I think they really need a center fielder.
Kira's got it. Belly. Again, everybody appreciate, again, shout out to it. I know everybody, there's a lot of people who were in Clint's stream. Thanks for hopping on over. I know he's going to send a lot of people over here. So if you were in there, welcome in. Blake and I just earlier on, we talked about the Tokoy Series. It's exciting stuff there. hopefully we both get the opportunity. Guys, I'll make sure to sneak him as many foods as he doesn't want to eat as possible. But right now we're just in that Q&A session. So if there's anything that you want to run by, chat it up, toss in there again, all caps question, and then put in an after, and then we'll get to it. Let's see. I know we have one super chat here. Is this the year, or is next year to win it all, or next year? I mean, is that falling the year after that? I honestly, Kevin, again, thanks for the super chat. Blake, I think we're going to be in alignment here.
Are you going to go? You're putting me here. Okay. I think they have a window of like 5 years right now to win a World Series. I believe that's right around when Freddie's contract ends. Maybe there's a year less to it, but they're kind of in win now mode for the next few years. Fortunately for the Dodgers, that win now mode is also going to be extended with how they run their team. We just don't know how that's going to look yet. They might not have the top end talent that they have right now, but I think they're going to be competitive past their World Series window. It's just right now is the time to do it. You have Mookie in his prime. You have Freddie in his prime. You've just added Yamamoto. You just added Glass now. Like, they have a lot of talent on this team ready to win right now. So I think the next few years is their opportunity to win 2 World Series.
Yeah, Kenny, I agree. And I see BC, same thing. I think it's this 3-year window. And people tuning in after the fact are going to say, but you have Ohtani, you have Mookie Betts is ridiculous. You have Yamamoto, all this stuff. It's ridiculous to say you have a 3-year window. But that's looking at full strength where you have pillar players in there, superstar guys still essentially in the most productive spot of their career. I think it's this 3-year window where they can heavily trade away prospects and be totally fine and buff up the roster where you can build that farm back up. Like hopefully you have options there at first base, waiting in the wings. You can hopefully get an outfielder that projects long-term, but we'll see. But I think 3 years, Kenny. So I agree. You kind of on the 3 years, or you still sticking to 5? Like towards the back half, that's kind of iffy. But are you saying this next 3-year window?
I think the next 3 years is their best chance to win, but like I would still say 5 years, they have great chances to win. They have a lot of guys locked up long term, key guys. It's not like back into the roster guys. You're going to have money coming off the books here in the next few years, so they'll be able to add still. I mean, I still think they're going to be competitive in like 7, 8, 9 years down the line, but right now is their absolute peak to win. And I'll say the next 3 years is their peak.
I just had a buddy of mine send me a tweet from Pat Ragazzo. I don't know. I think he's a Mets and Yankees reporter. Yeah. And Dodgers are heavily in on Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert. So take that for what you want, guys. Rumors, all that. But we talked a bit ago about the Dodgers and Andrew Friedman inquiring early on, and that becoming, I don't know if the teams just toss that out just to say, yeah, super team or a top contender is coming after our guys. But I think it says a lot, and a lot of what I've lined up with is that I think he understands that these aren't issues that are just something he can weather. It needs to be filled with, players and a deal that is substantial. Because it's not just light holes that they have to fill. They have to fill some big-time production there. And if you're able to swing both, expect to see multiple top prospects there. Cost-controlled guys, too, which is terrific. Any concerns with either of them? Like, besides just, I don't want to talk about innings limits. Any concerns with their game in particular?
No, not really. I think they're both fantastic players. Crochet is really having a breakout year. Probably a top 5 pitcher in baseball right now, just statistically and with his stuff combined in there. And Robert, great defender, a lot of power, can strike out a bit more than we'd like, but I think you can live with that with everything else he provides. So, I mean, I'm all in on either of them.
Yeah, getting Crochet in there gives him a versatile arm, somebody that I'd be super excited about. Big left-handed presence, and Luis Robert, it fills that center field slot. Now you're able to work with your corner outfield there, find a healthy platoon, because Jason Hayward, when he's on the field, he was trending up in the right direction. Saw a lot of stuff that I liked from him. I wasn't too optimistic when they first re-signed him, just because it's hard to replicate what he did in 2023. So I love if they are able to platoon. My people might get mad that I don't include James Outman in this, but a platoon of Jason Hayward and Andy Pajes in a corner outfield spot, I would adore, because Andy Pajes has already started to show those platoon splits that lefties. He's been terrific. Righties, he's overly aggressive against both sides. He's overly aggressive, but his production wise versus lefties it has been already noted, and it's started to separate itself there. So if Jason Hayward can keep that up, Teoscar Hernandez in another slot, you're able to slot in Luis Robert in center field, and then we roll. But again, I see you guys are all talking about Randy Arozarena. I saw John Morosi's JP's report today. I don't know how much of a report it was that they would be listening on Randy Arozarena. Like, you guys know, I would love Randy Arozarena. I know Blake would love that too. It's just how much are they willing to deal him? He's not someone that would be in their long-term plans. He's a Boris client. He wouldn't re-sign in LA, and he does not play center field. And we've seen the play from James Outman. We've seen him, how he's come back. We've seen Andy Pajes' defensive carousel in center field, and I don't think anybody likes it. He's an athletic guy, but he looks best suited for a corner spot. You agree, Blake?
I do agree with that. I mean, if they ended up just keeping Pajes in center field to make room for Randy, I think I could live with it. I think we'd all be pretty happy with that overall.
Everybody would be stoked.
But I think Robert is the better fit for the team just because he's a natural pure center fielder and fantastic defensively. The team has been built on pitching a lot, and I just think they need to kind of upgrade their defense a bit in center field because Pajes does not look great out there by the eye test.
And Luis Robert is under contract until 2020 through the 2027 season with 2 club options at the back end for 2026 and 2027. It'll be wrapping up a 6-year, $50 million, and then you tack on the years at the back end. So he's at a cost-controlled AAV, little under. It's about 8.33. So it's a contract that's desirable. You're able to get that in-house there and set it and forget it, and give the White Sox a reset. Hopefully it's not, I said it was my first option when it was first floated around. It might still be, depending on what the package is and how the needs have kind of played out for the Dodgers. And it pained me to have to talk about getting back into the Cody Bellinger experience and how good it'd be to have a left-handed center fielder again. But immediately you're on the hook for someone who's, shown the depths of what he can be on an essentially what would be a 2.5-year contract once he's acquired, unless he overperforms what he's doing. So it just all depends. I do think that they need a center fielder there. Yeah. I mean, do you think, let me ask you, operate under the assumption that they make that deal with the White Sox, send the big time prospects, make a big splash, Andrew Friedman style. He's done it before. Everybody doubting that. Look what he's done, who he's brought over. He's shown that he's capable and willing to, send prospects over. And most of the time it's worked out in Andrew Friedman's favor. What would be a subtle move? Which position would you attack next? Would it just be third base, or would it be another versatile guy?
Probably versatility in the infield, I think, would be the major thing there. My problem with locking into a full-time third baseman is if Max Muncy does come back, which is still the hope, then you're kind of left with just a bench bat there. So I'd like someone who can play a few different positions. Any of the 3 infield spots outside of first base would be fantastic for the team. So I don't think you need like an elite everyday type player there. You just need someone who's going to come in and contribute at a higher level than what they've had.
I wonder how much is gamesmanship with, past the deadline, maybe with Max, like if the Dodgers expect him to be back or anything there. It's always interesting to see. I wish it was in like the war room or like in the NFL, you get like a shade into some of these conversations. I would like to know how Friedman negotiates and hear some of those conversations for those big deals, how they go, because that whole Ohtani experience and when he was getting those phone calls, that's all fascinating to me. So I think that'd be something I'd like to hear. Yeah, Orlando, check that out. Check us out. Rewind this one. Just a big Q&A session. And we're going to roll from there. We're going to get to some of these now. Roger, thank you for the question. Appreciate it. What do you guys think of Eric Fetty having a good year on a terrible team? I like Eric Fetty. He's been really solid. He's someone that the Dodgers could acquire. How high leverage of an arm he is, it remains to be seen. But he's someone they could get in. That would be a very formidable, you could say, middle of rotation arm. I think he's under contract for one more year after this year, if I'm mistaken.
I don't know his contract.
I'm going to check. But do you have any thoughts on Eric Fetty?
I don't know a ton about him besides like he's just coming back over after rebounding, playing internationally. I would kind of hope for them to acquire guys like near the top end of rotation rather than mid-tier guys. Like if the Dodgers are going to trade for a starting pitcher, I think it should be a Garrett Crochet type, a Tarek Skubal type, Jack Flaherty type. I have a little concerns about Fetty just kind of holding up. I mean, he's been great this year. I just question how legit that really is, and maybe it is legit and the Dodgers believe in him, and then sure, go get him. Maybe he's a second part of a major deal with the White Sox. I'm just kind of locked in on Crochet or Flaherty as my top two targets right now.
Our guy Flaherty. Aren't you happy that I got on the bandwagon with that? A couple years too late, because when he was a free agent initially, straight out the Cardinals, I know that's someone you brought up to me, and I was like, I don't know about Flaherty. He was bad. But it's cool to see a player like him. He looks the part. He looks terrific. You know, the back injections don't seem to have affected him at all. Ken Rosenthal agreed with that. And he just had right before the break, he had a terrific start. So if the Dodgers go, if there's a 1A, 1B, I think Flaherty is someone that will command not a lot, but enough just because of the market for starting pitching. So Eric Fetty has been fine. Like he's been good. Sub 3 ERA, 2.99, expected 3.58. His FIP is 3.53. 8 Ks per 9. So a lot, like shades of a lot of what Gavin Stone has done, essentially. So it's like getting another Gavin Stone, and he's under contract for one more year. So through 2025, Eric Fetty would he'd be on the roster through next year, which is not the worst thing in the world. If he's able to replicate this and go from there, it's someone that it's just his first season back after playing in the KBO. You never know how that's going to project. And that might be a concern for the Dodgers, especially. All right, let's see. I know Ederico has some. There we go. All right. Is Kike's versatility important now with Muncy seemingly done this year, or is he still dead weight in the plan with Hayward after 2024? We got Blake.
I think Kike is still kind of dead weight at this point. Like he's not really using that third base versatility because Chris Taylor has overtaken the position. He's been not great at other positions either. So I still think they need to upgrade from him. It's probably one of their biggest needs, I feel like, on the roster. He hasn't provided much offensively or defensively. And then playing with Hayward after 2024, I think if he comes back, it would be in a fourth outfielder, fifth outfielder bench type role. I don't see them giving him everyday at-bats again next season. I already didn't love them doing it this year, and I think he has an OPS below 700 now. So I'm just not sure there's a whole lot left in the tank there, but he had a great story last year. He's been a big clubhouse guy for the team. So I don't think it's the worst thing keeping him around as a backup.
Is Hayward on a 2-year deal?
No.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I think Jeff asked me in the offseason if I would have been okay with Jason Hayward on a 2-year contract. And I immediately said, like, hell no, really loud. And he was like, why not? And it's just, that would have been a perplexing thing if they were to sign on a Jason Hayward will be 35. The BC, thank goodness. That would be one of those legacy veteran moves. Veteran presence. Blake loves that term. But as far as from that, he's world class. Like he's as good as it gets, honestly. He's gracious with the young players. Like he spends his time, takes them out to eat. Like he's awesome. Like no knock on Jason Hayward. He's a terrific dude. But signing up something like that who had an anomaly year, a bounce back year in a platoon role is tough to replicate, and signing that on, it'd be different if it was somebody like Jock, who is going to have, he's had consistent career platoons and that's what he's done. But it would have been a perplexing thing, but I'm fine with what Jason Hayward can do. I think he was trending. He had barring the knee, I think he was going to be a fine platoon there. And I was like, somebody please separate yourself. Like, have a plus platoon spot. Do the job that you're on the team and do it well. Be a role player and do it well. Somebody, please, not named Andy Pius, show one side, like against one-handedness pitcher, that you're a plus bat against. And that's all we've been looking for. So I think they'll attack that, and they'll do just that at the deadline. We're going to go Noisy Ninja here. As someone who doesn't know the nuances of baseball, what are the differences between a right-handed center fielder and a left-handed center fielder? Anything on this, Blake?
I don't think there's too much to it. Like,
Yeah.
A lot of times lefties just get stuck in the outfield because they're not playing catcher or short or second or
Base,
third.
any infield spot, yeah.
Yeah. Besides, first base and outfield are kind of the two spots left-handers can play. So it's just they get stuck out there a lot of times. I mean, the only main difference might be they'll have an easier time going to a ball on their left than on their right, just because that's left hand then. But not too much. When we talk about the left-handed center fielder, mainly we're talking about like the bat that they're hitting with, because you need another lefty in your lineup or something like that. So nothing like defensively that's going to be any major difference there.
Any concerns about the Dodgers being a little too right-handed heavy?
From the bat side, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about it. Yeah. A little. I mean, I think they need a lefty bat, but hopefully you get Muncy back and Hayward back, and I think that kind of helps. Maybe replace Gavin Lux and get someone competent there. I think that would help. So it's on the back of my mind, but like not like front of mind.
All right. Let me see. There we go. I got one more from you. We'll pull that up. It's a good question. Larry, question: would you rather keep Bobby Miller or River Ryan in a trade package for an elite starting pitcher? I want to hear what you have to say on this, Blake, because I think this one's super interesting, honestly.
For me, it's Bobby Miller, and it's not that close. He's the same age as River Ryan, so it's not like River Ryan's a 21-year-old prospect with tremendous upside. I think with Bobby Miller, he's already shown he can be a top of the rotation pitcher at a major league level, and then he got hurt this year and struggled to get back to form. I wouldn't give up on him. I think there's still a lot left there. River Ryan has kind of been a late bloomer there. He was acquired from the Padres for Matt Beatty, and the Dodgers made him into a full-time pitcher, and he's really taken off there. So there might be a lot more there. I know the Dodgers pitching coordinator Rob Hill compared River Ryan's athleticism to Mookie Betts, just kind of stuff you never see from a pitcher. So, I mean, I think there is a lot of upside there. For me, it's just Bobby Miller was their top prospect for a reason. He has that elite stuff. He's proven he can do it. He just needs to get back on track and figure out what's been going wrong with him. So for me, it's Bobby Miller, just for those reasons.
Yeah, exactly those reasons. Yeah, again, Larry, thanks for the question. It's just that we just haven't seen it. And somebody said it. Yeah, Bobby's done it in the bigs, but we don't know what's going on lately. It's a similar situation to what Gavin Stone has gone through. I'll just wrap it up on Bobby Miller from this point. Do we see Bobby Miller? I know you last night on the show, you projected Bobby Miller as making a postseason start. That resurgence, what do you think's going on with him right now, and what makes you so hopeful about Bobby going forward?
I think there's some mechanical things he's working on. He just kind of got thrown off from when he was injured and making those changes. I think a big thing with him is he's still a little immature as a pitcher. He lets some of the mental things get to him more so than he should. We see a lot of times he's dominant and then someone reaches base and then it kind of leads to a bit of a blow up for him. And that is something he and Dave Roberts has talked about, working more on the mental side of the game, controlling your emotions. So when it's those kind of things, I think you can still get back on track with those and learn to control that and fix your issues there. So we see the stuff. We know he has elite stuff. We know he can be a top of the rotation guy. It's just about fixing those things and putting it all together.
Yeah, Matty, man. Gavin Stone was that bad in 2023 in the major leagues. Like it was, I think I just pulled it up. I got to just so for some context for what we see Gavin Stone doing right now. And Kenny, I agree. Like the heart rate for Gavin Stone, you've seen him. We've seen him pitch in New York. I love what I've seen from Gavin Stone. He did it against, he dominated the White Sox. I know it's the White Sox, but he was so bad last year. He allowed 31 earned runs in 31 innings pitched in 2023, and completely revamped himself. So how fast that type of turnaround, I don't think necessarily has to happen, or not how fast of a turnaround. I don't think it's a drastic of a turnaround as Bobby Miller has to go through. I think a lot of people are saying a lot of mental, mechanical, and just getting a feel for it. Because right now, Terry, like a bust, like it's a lot to say Bobby Miller is a bust. That's a lot. That's like your break glass in case of emergency type saying. Like, I don't know if anybody can say he's a bust. We just haven't seen enough of him. His rookie season was phenomenal. And then it just blew up on him in the playoffs. Big spot and just didn't work out. No Dodgers pitcher worked out in the post in 2023. And a lot of innings for him. It's a tough deal. I think going forward, though, I agree with Blake. I'm on the optimistic side with Bobby Miller, just because we've seen him do it before. And when he comes back, the Dodgers are going to have a plan. Like, he's going to be working with their player development system. Rob Hill, I believe, is working with him directly. I think we'll see him back. So when you said that last night, I co-signed it. I think Bobby Miller is going to still be a big-time arm for the Dodgers, because if he's not, they're screwed. They're screwed on that back end, because it's like, he's another arm that you have to worry about flipping the script again on and go after and try to diagnose why he doesn't have anything besides the four seam or any command on that, because he's just, when in doubt, pump the fastball. And that's where he's got into a lot of his trouble, because he couldn't land anything else in the zone, near the zone. Let me see. Edric, I'll give this one to you. Which would you rather have at center field? Paz' offense or Outman's defense?
For me, it's Pajes, pretty clearly, because it's passable. I don't think the defense is good out there, but it's not like causing them to lose a ton of games. Might hurt them once or twice, and then they'll lose a game from it. But Outman's offense there, like, I don't think his defense is making up for that lack of offense there at all. So Pajes, for me, he's the guy you have to play out there for now until they hopefully get a center fielder.
Yeah, James Outman last year in the playoffs saying that the lights were too bright kind of sticks with me, and his performance just hasn't lived up to it. Came up as a glove guy. His offense, he didn't work on, like, nothing that happened in AAA this year. Transitioned. He had a crazy run to open his time back in OKC, but again, looked like he regressed and went right back to what he was doing when he was in the major leagues, and then got called back up. And in the time that he's been with the Dodgers, let's see, he's striking out almost 60% of the time. I know it's only 14 plate appearances, but it's just on par with what he's doing. It's not saying let's give him a sample and see if it flips it around. It's the same stuff that's been going on, just on a bigger thing. What's up, Clint? Appreciate you sending everybody over here. Hope the show was awesome, man. We're just wrapping up a Q&A. Blake's going golfing tonight. Blake is a big golf guy now. Are we going to see you in some polos? Anybody have any recommendations for Blake on the attire? Any of the, you going to give him a little top hat? You going to go a little, what is that?
I know what you're talking about. Don't know what it's called.
What is this? Somebody hit me with
like
that. What is it again?
The flat golf hat kind of thing. Yeah, I don't think I'd wear one of those.
Let's see. Any update on Walker Buehler? Anything, Blake?
He is away from the team in Florida working with some of his personal coaches, and the Dodgers let him do that. They agreed to let him do that. It's very normal that they do that. So he's just kind of trying to figure stuff out on his own, and the Dodgers said, go have fun doing it. So let's see.
Michael, I don't want to answer this, but I'll try. If you were the GM of the Dodgers, what's the moves you would make at the trade deadline? I would say we just laid it out. If they're able to land Garrett Crochet, if they're able to get Luis Robert and remedy center field, get yourself a front end starting pitcher that you can, next year you have he's seemingly on an innings limit this year. Okay. If they're able to manipulate that and work with it and get him through the postseason on a pitching how he is, or on a solid plan that they feel comfortable with, they're able to go into next season with a very fun toy. Like having Garrett Crochet from the left side is unbelievable. That's somebody who the Dodgers can just, again, you look at what the rotation has the possibility of being next year in adding in a Garrett Crochet, someone with years. You're talking about, I'm going to miss somebody, but you're talking about, let's just start out with big Gavin Stone, Ohtani right there, possibly Sasaki, Yamamoto, barring anything with his shoulder, Bobby Miller, depending on what happens with Clayton Kershaw, if he rides into the sunset. And it's just a lot. There's so many arms. Like that would be a stable of arms that is unbelievable and can go toe to toe again. But again, health, barring health, we just have no clue, because I was somebody that went on Clint's show multiple times and said they don't need to go and get any starting pitching because I feel like this is a rotation. And look where we're at now. I weep. But I would say if it were up to me, they just need to get an outfielder. We spoke about that they just need to remedy one spot that's an everyday guy, and then they can manipulate from there, go with some versatility. Randy Arozarena is somebody I've wanted on the Dodgers for quite some time from 2020. Like that's postseason energy you can't really recreate aside from Randy Arozarena. But if they're able to get Luis Robert, that's someone who's cost controlled. They need a center fielder, and they don't really have anybody in the organization that can man that spot right now after Cody Bellinger left. So that's someone who would be solid with me. I want a platoon bat. I think Jesse Winker would be perfect. If they're able to just plop him in left, fine. But if Jason Hayward's knee is all good, I think they have their platoon already in Jason Hayward and Andy Pajes in an outfield spot. And that is cool. Like if you're telling me your platoon in left field is Jason Hayward, Andy Pajes, center field, Luis Robert, right field, Teoscar Hernandez, or however you want to line up left or right field, then you can just focus on how you're going to rotate your infield. And that's cool. And I think a lot of fans would be happy with that. I think that would fix a ton. Because if everybody signs on that Andy Pajes' platoon splits are what they are, and they're going to roll there, I think infield you can kind of mix and match and figure it out. Because they just get yourself back up to the mean a little bit. So Michael, thanks for the question, man. I want Blake. Blake, you answer that. I want to know what you said real quick. Get this out of here. I want to know what would your move be? GM hat.
I'm going Crochet. Then I'm calling up Detroit, and I'm asking about Mark Canha. I know he's not really a center fielder, but
Mark Canha.
It's just one of the guys I like out there who's available. And then I'm talking to the Marlins about Jazz. I mean, lefty bat who can play center and second. I think it's just a great fit for what they need. So that's what I'm going with there. I probably need a third baseman there too, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe with Detroit we get a Gio Urshela thrown into that deal or something. Maybe expand that and get a Jack Flaherty deal, but now we're going a little crazy there.
Yeah, now you are. We're talking 3 different teams. That's why I'm saying package one and just call up another and call it a day.
Well, there you go. Jack Flaherty, Gio Urshela, Mark Canha, and then the Marlins go get Jazz.
All right. I think that's good. Unless you see one in the log that right here that you'd like to bring up.
There's a few more here.
All right.
Blake 5
we have the time schedule tonight. FYI, guys, I'd be on here all night.
We'll do the who's my favorite golfer. I'll say me because I don't really watch much golf. Haven't. So yeah, I am my favorite golfer. You like the idea of selling Gavin Stone and a Screwball package? Yes, I think I like Gavin Stone a lot as a pitcher, but Screwball is different. He is probably the top starting pitcher in baseball right now. So if you can get him, you go do it.
It's what we talked about with Gonsolin, right?
Yeah, somewhat similar. I think Stone is better than Gonsolin, but it's that same kind of like, I'm always okay with selling high on a player. And when you can add a legit ace to your team, you go for it. Yeah,
that's it. We had those conversations about Tony Gonsolin for sure. The All-Star season, that was like, if they deal him at the deadline, I won't be surprised one bit. Sell him high and go from there. But you needed him. All right. So Paredes, yeah.
I knew 3 more here. I know the numbers aren't great on the Savant page, but he's a pretty unique hitter. where he's able to pull everything and hit it in the air a lot. He has a really good swing path like that. So I do think his power is sustainable. I don't know how the batting average and stuff like that's going to hold up, but maybe the Rays would be willing to sell him a little cheaper because of some of that underlying stuff. But I do like the player. He's more unique. I think Savant, we always have to note it's a good starting point and not the end-all be-all to a player. Like some players do things that aren't going to show up necessarily on a Savant page. So, like if we compare Kike Hernandez's Savant page to Isaac Paredes' Savant page. They're very different. Kike has a very hard hit rate. He has a lot of underlying things that look good, but the results just aren't there at all. While Paredes has been fantastic and the Savant page doesn't look good at all. And that's partly for their hitting profile. Like Kike isn't pulling the ball at all this year, and he doesn't have the power to go opposite field. So that's why we're seeing his struggles a lot this year. While Paredes doesn't have elite power, but he's able to pull everything in the air, and that leads to more homers.
Well said, buddy. I saw somebody asking about Gonsolin's contract. He's a free agent in 2027. So team control for a few more years. How he comes back, we'll see. I don't think he's throwing, right?
I don't think so.
No, is he not tossing a baseball yet?
I don't think we've heard any update on Gonsolin in quite a while.
Long time. It's going to be one of those flops out of nowhere.
Yeah, the last thing I remember about Gonsolin was when I talked to him at the pet orphanage place when he was doing the off-season Dodgers Love LA tour. And he said he was feeling well.
Okay, that tells us absolutely nothing. So we'll see him next year, and we'll see the first clips of him throwing in the offseason, and we'll take it and we'll like it. Fried or Sasaki? I'm going to say Sasaki for the money and youth and cost and projection and ceiling, but Fried's an amazing talent.
Yeah, I agree with all those things. I mean, Fried's going to cost $150 million, maybe push $200 million. Sasaki is going to cost the Dodgers $3 million with 6 years of control. And his total contract after those 6 years is going to end up being $50 million total after arbitration and all that. So yeah, it's not all that close for me.
Mm-hmm. I agree. What would the haul be for Crochet, Lou Bob? Be greater than the Scherzer and Trey Turner? You think so?
Yes, not close.
Yes.
Because of the team control, you have to consider both Crochet and Robert are locked up long-term, while Scherzer was a free agent after the year, and Trey Turner only had 1 extra year of control remaining. So you probably have to at least double the package that they sent to the Nationals, and maybe even a little more just because of the bidding wars that's going to be involved with all the teams. So you're probably looking at like River Ryan, Dalton Rushing, Josue DePaula, probably someone else, maybe 2 more people. It's going to be a lot, and I think a lot of people won't be willing to meet that price.
Who won't be willing, like other teams or fans?
Both.
What would you be willing with where they're at? Would you do that?
I think so. I think you can live without Dalton Rushing. I think River Ryan. Huh?
I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah. I think River Ryan, when you're getting Crochet back, it's more replaceable. Josue DePaula, he has a lot of potential, but he's also really young, and we don't know what's going to happen. He's probably 3 or 4 years away at least, so it would hurt.
He's probably the next superstar, and we'll just see it when it happens.
I mean, if DePaula becomes Robert, like, you're happy with that outcome. So if you can just go get him now while you're in your win now mode, we talked about earlier, their 3-year window, like, go do it. You have to be a little aggressive sometimes.
That's why we're talking about it.
Who was the other name I said? I think I said someone else. I don't remember now. Maybe not. But yeah, it's going to be a lot. And
you said just a couple extra, like maybe 2 extra guys. And I think that's, again, I agree with you. Like, that's a cost that if they're willing to meet it, and if Friedman's like, this is it. If everybody just looks at their roster right now and you factor in that this window, everybody always wants to prospect hug. Yeah, Clint, maybe. I mean, who knows? Possibly. It could be fresh scenery and just go from there. And the White Sox seem to never want to win. but they'd have to start somewhere. I don't know if Gavin Lux is like cornerstone of it, but anyways, I think that Aaron, relax. I don't have a rant, but I just want everybody to look at the window. And once you get that in your mind, that this is a window and the needs, it's a prospect cost that I think a lot of fans can live with. But Friedman's also gone to the extent of making that big deal. And it's a move for a window and a time and a team where the expectations are so high. And right now they're teetering on. It could flop right now. It could be a setup where we see them being able to weather this first half. And if they don't do it, we could see it completely just stay stagnant. And then that big drop off. And then who knows what the narrative becomes. And to avoid that type of narrative, for what have they cooked up early on in the offseason and how much they've done and how much hype there is, that's a move that they could withstand. And I think Andrew Friedman's organization and their player development's built to withstand that and build that up.
Speaking of getting Lux in a trade, how about we tell the Marlins, like, we can take Jazz from you and we'll split his positions of second base and center field into 2 players. So you get 1 James Outman and 1 Gavin Lux, 2 players for 1 Jazz Chisholm. I think everyone's happy there.
Just send it and just hang up and just expect him to show up at the ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The Marlins have done some crazy things, so it's a joke, everyone. That's not going to be enough for Jazz, but
let's do it. Yeah, take away all the stuff that happened with Miguel Rojas. Jazz Chisholm is a player that the Dodgers, like, for his profile, left-handed outfield, like, could be an outfielder, play second base a bit. That would work so well. Anyways, I'm dead set on if they're going out and making the big contract, like making the big deal, going to get Crochet, Luis Robert. If they're all in on it, then I will be too. And then we can just work on how they can work on the platoons and not have to worry about that bench so much, because then you're getting a starting center fielder and then you already have a built-in platoon in left field. Teoscar starts in right, go from there, figure it out, Andrew Friedman, and we won't have to worry so much. But I think we're good there. Appreciate everybody, bearing with us after the first 5 minutes. My computer bricked and we had to log back on. I'm going to let Blake go off his nighttime golf. This has been keeping a calm Blake lately. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. 800 in the house. Thanks for tuning in on a light one on an early night for us. But make sure you hit the like, subscribe button. Leave those comments down in there. I'm still taking all tabs and keeping record of who's making those trade predictions. And I'm just going to timestamp it because I know a lot of people are going to say Crochet and Luis Robert. And if it comes from that, then I'm going to say who did it first. And if you really want to get down to the tiebreakers, I want the compensation too. And then we'll talk a greater bobblehead return from me. But leave those in the comments. I'm Scott Geirman, staff writer, senior staff writer. Blake Williams, managing editor, Dodger Blue. We appreciate everybody. Hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next time. See you in the second half. A lot of fun, a lot of hopes. We pray in Andrew Friedman. Take care, everybody.